Let me share something with you that took me years. Years of trial, error, frustration, ambition, and reflection to truly understand at a deep and unshakable level. When I was a young man full of hunger and determination, I believed the secret to wealth was simple pursuit. I believed money was like a target in the distance, and if I could just run fast enough, work long enough, sacrifice enough sleep, and push myself harder than everyone else, eventually would give in. I thought success was about intensity. I thought it was about grinding harder than the next person. I believed that exhaustion was a badge of honor and that constant pursuit was proof of ambition. But what I discovered after setbacks, disappointments, and moments of honest self-evaluation was something far more powerful and far more liberating. Money is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the person you become. You see, chasing implies desperation. Chasing implies that what you want is always slightly out of reach, always just ahead of you, always running faster than you are. And when you live your life chasing, you position yourself as the pursuer, never the attractor. But attraction is a different force entirely. Attraction is magnetic. It suggests alignment. It suggests that when you develop the right qualities, the right habits, the right mindset, and the right value, opportunities begin to gravitate toward you. Instead of running after every dollar, you build the kind of character that draws dollars naturally. That shift in understanding changes everything. It changes how you work, how you think, how you measure progress. It moves you from frantic activity to intentional growth. And that shift from chasing to becoming is where real wealth begins. You see, success is not some mystical, invisible force floating through the air, waiting for the lucky or the fortunate to grab hold of it. It is not reserved for a select few with special connections or secret formulas. Success is a response. It responds to something specific. It responds to value. It responds to discipline. It responds to consistency. It responds to character. The marketplace, the world, the economy, they are not emotional. They are responsive systems. They reward contribution. They reward solutions. They reward those who bring something meaningful to the table. If you improve who you are, what you have will improve. That is not motivational poetry, that is practical law. If you sharpen your skills, your opportunities expand. If you strengthen your discipline, your results stabilize. If you refine your character, your trustworthiness increases, and trust is a currency more valuable than cash. But if you remain the same, thinking the same thoughts, practicing the same habits, tolerating the same weaknesses, your income will not change in any meaningful or lasting way. You may experience temporary spikes. You may stumble into a fortunate season, but without internal growth, external growth cannot be sustained. Success is not something you grab, it is something you qualify for. And qualification comes through personal development. When you understand that, you stop blaming the economy, your background, your upbringing, or your circumstances. You start asking better questions. You begin focusing not on what the world owes you, but on what you can offer the world. And the moment you shift from entitlement to improvement, you step onto the path where success can finally respond to you. Many people spend their lives asking the same question over and over again: how do I make more money? It seems logical, it seems practical, it seems like the right place to focus. But I discovered that it is often the wrong question entirely. The better question, the transformative question, the question that changes your trajectory is this: how do I become more valuable? Because income rarely exceeds personal development. You can temporarily earn more than you are worth in skill or discipline, but you cannot keep it. Income in the long run is tied to value. Value is not just about technical ability, it is about reliability, it is about problem solving, it is about emotional intelligence, it is about communication, it is about leadership, it is about the ability to think clearly under pressure, it is about integrity when no one is watching. When you focus on becoming more valuable, you shift your attention from getting to giving. You stop obsessing over compensation and start improving contribution. And ironically, when contribution increases, compensation follows naturally. If you want more on the outside, you must work on the inside. The outer world is a mirror. It reflects the inner world. Your bank account, your career opportunities, your network, your influence. They are all reflections of who you are becoming. So instead of asking, where can I find more money? Begin asking, where can I grow? What skill can I sharpen? What weakness can I correct? What discipline can I strengthen? That is where sustainable wealth begins. It begins not in the marketplace, but in the mirror. I used to believe that circumstances determine my financial future. If the economy was strong, I would do well. If it was weak, I would struggle. If my boss was generous, I would prosper. If my environment was supportive, I would thrive. But over time, I realized that circumstances are like the wind. The wind blows for everyone. It changes direction without asking your permission. It can be favorable one moment and challenging the next. But here is the crucial truth. We cannot control the wind, but we can adjust the sails. Your philosophy, your attitude, your habits, those are your sails. They determine how you respond to the wind. Two people can experience the same circumstances and produce completely different outcomes. Why? Because their internal settings are different. One adjusts, adapts, learns, and persists. The other complains, hesitates, and blames. The wind may be identical, but the destination is not. When you understand that, you stop waiting for better weather. You stop postponing your growth until conditions are perfect. Instead, you begin refining your sails. You improve your mindset. You strengthen your discipline. You upgrade your skills. You take responsibility for your responses. And when you do that, something remarkable happens. You realize you have far more control than you ever imagined. Not control over the wind, but control over your direction. And direction sustained over time determines destiny. Money flows toward value. It does not flow toward need. The marketplace does not reward desperation. It rewards contribution. If you become the kind of person who solves meaningful problems, who generates useful ideas, who creates efficient systems, who inspires confidence, who reduces stress for others, who improves outcomes, money will find you. It may not arrive overnight. It may not come in dramatic fashion, but it will come consistently. And consistency is the true foundation of wealth. Think about it this way. Every dollar you earn is a certificate of value rendered. It represents something you gave, time, skill, creativity, effort, insight, that someone else deemed useful. The more useful you become, the more certificates of value you collect. But usefulness requires growth. It requires curiosity. It requires attention to detail. It requires a willingness to refine your craft long after others have settled for average. The marketplace rewards value, not need. You may need money desperately, but if you do not offer value proportionate to what you seek, frustration will follow. But if you dedicate yourself to becoming undeniably valuable, so capable, so reliable, so skillful that your presence elevates any environment, money becomes a byproduct. It becomes a reflection of the value you consistently deliver. And when you understand that, you stop focusing on the reward and start perfecting the contribution. Now here's something important, perhaps even uncomfortable. Wishing for more money without wishing for more discipline is a dangerous game. Because if you receive wealth without growth, you will lose it just as quickly as you gained it. Success without personal development is temporary. Growth must come before gain. Otherwise, gain becomes fragile. Discipline is what sustains prosperity. Discipline in spending. Discipline in investing, discipline in learning, discipline in decision-making. Without discipline, wealth leaks away through poor choices, impulsive habits, and emotional reactions. We have all seen examples. Individuals who come into sudden fortune only to find themselves struggling again a few years later. Why? Because their character had not yet grown to match their income. Money amplifies who you already are. If you are careless, it will amplify carelessness. If you are generous, it will amplify generosity. If you are wise, it will amplify wisdom. That is why growth must precede gain. When you focus on developing discipline first, small daily disciplines practiced consistently, you build the internal structure necessary to hold greater wealth. And when the opportunity arrives, you are not overwhelmed by it. You are prepared for it. When I met my mentor, he asked me a question that unsettled me in the best possible way. He said, if someone handed you $1 million today, would you be able to keep it? At first, the question sounded exciting. Of course I would keep it. Who wouldn't? But the longer I thought about it, the more I realized what he was truly asking. He wasn't asking about desire. He was asking about capacity. Keeping money requires skills. It requires financial literacy. It requires emotional control. It requires long-term thinking. It requires the ability to say no to temptation. It requires discernment in partnerships and investments. It requires patience when others are rushing. And most of all, it requires a mindset that sees money as a tool, not as an identity. That question haunted me because I recognized that I was more focused on acquiring wealth than on becoming capable of managing it. I was pursuing results without strengthening my foundation. And from that moment forward, my focus shifted. Instead of dreaming only about larger numbers, I began strengthening my character, my knowledge, my habits. Because I understood something profound, the size of your opportunity will eventually match the size of your personal development. And if you want to keep what you earn, you must become the kind of person who can handle it. So instead of chasing dollars, I began chasing growth. That shift may sound small when spoken in a single sentence, but it was monumental in practice. Growth became my new target. Personal development became my daily pursuit. I started reading, not casually, not occasionally, but consistently and intentionally. Books became my mentors when mentors were not physically present. I began studying communication because I realized that ideas are only as powerful as your ability to express them. I worked on my health because energy fuels productivity and clarity sharpens decision-making. I studied time management because wasted hours accumulate into wasted years. I learned about financial literacy because earning money and managing money are two entirely different skills. And something interesting happened, almost quietly at first. My income began to grow as I grew, not because I demanded it, not because I forced it, but because I was becoming more useful. I was becoming more capable. I was becoming more reliable. People began to trust me with bigger responsibilities. Opportunities appeared that I would not have qualified for just a few years earlier. It wasn't magic. It was alignment. The more I expanded internally, the more my external results expanded as well. That is the pattern. That is the law. When you focus on growth, income becomes a byproduct rather than an obsession. And when income is a byproduct of growth, it tends to be sustainable. The person you become is the foundation of everything you will eventually attract. Not your intentions, not your wishes, not even your potential. It is who you consistently are that determines what consistently comes into your life. If you are careless with small responsibilities, larger responsibilities will avoid you. If you are unreliable in minor commitments, major commitments will not be entrusted to you. If you are disciplined in small habits, however, discipline will compound into greater trust and greater opportunity. Money behaves the same way. If you are careless, money will be careless with you. It will slip through your fingers. It will disappear through impulsive decisions and poorly thought out commitments. But if you are disciplined, disciplined in thought, disciplined in action, disciplined in delayed gratification, money begins to respond to that discipline. Wealth is drawn to responsibility. Responsibility signals stability. Stability invites opportunity. Think of your character as soil. Whatever you plant in poor soil struggles to grow. But in fertile soil, even modest seeds can flourish. When your character is strong, grounded in integrity, consistency, and accountability, opportunities take root. And once they take root, they multiply. So before you focus on the harvest, examine the soil. Before you chase the fruit, strengthen the foundation. Let me tell you something that may challenge the way you think. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. That distinction is subtle, but it changes everything. Many people claim they want abundance, yet they operate from a mindset of scarcity. They say they want opportunity, yet they approach life with hesitation and fear. They say they desire success, yet they harbor doubt about their own worthiness. Your mindset is either a magnet or a repellent. If you constantly think in terms of limitation, there's not enough, I'm not ready, someone else is better, you unconsciously repel the very opportunities you claim to seek. Scarcity thinking causes you to hesitate when you should act, to shrink when you should expand, to doubt when you should prepare. On the other hand, an abundance mindset does not mean unrealistic optimism. It means belief paired with preparation. It means expecting growth while actively improving yourself to handle it. You must align your internal beliefs with the outcomes you desire. If you want financial stability, think and act like someone who values stewardship. If you want leadership, think and act like someone who takes initiative. If you want trust, think and act like someone who protects integrity. The world responds not to your wishes, but to your alignment. When your thinking, habits, and values align with the results you desire, attraction becomes natural rather than forced. Some people are always looking for shortcuts. They want the reward without the refinement. They want the recognition without the repetition. They want the harvest without planting season. But life does not bend to impatience. Growth requires process. Character requires testing. Skill requires repetition. The tree must grow roots before it bears fruit. And the deeper the roots, the stronger the tree. When storms come, and they always come, it is not the visible branches that determine survival. It is the unseen roots. Character is your root system. Discipline is your root system. Resilience is your root system. When setbacks arrive, when markets fluctuate, when critics speak, when plans fail, your roots determine whether you stand or fall. Shortcuts may offer temporary acceleration, but they rarely provide structural strength. If you bypass the process, you weaken the foundation. And a weak foundation cannot support lasting success. So instead of asking, how can I get there faster? Ask, how can I become stronger? Speed without strength is fragile. Growth with depth is durable. And durability is what sustains wealth. Here is a simple principle that can reshape your future. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Your job will make you a living. It will pay the bills. It will provide structure and responsibility. But working on yourself, that is what makes you a fortune. Because your job is limited by position. Your personal development is unlimited. No one can stop you from improving your mindset. No one can prevent you from reading one more book, learning one more skill, refining one more habit. Personal growth does not require permission. It requires decision. When you invest in yourself, your thinking, your communication, your expertise, you increase your market value. And increased value expands your options. The beautiful part is this: your employer controls your role, but you control your growth. And when your growth exceeds your role, new roles inevitably appear, either within the same organization or beyond it. But they appear because you have outgrown your current level. When you consistently improve yourself, you become difficult to ignore. You become the kind of person who cannot remain where you started. And that is the pathway to upward mobility. Develop rare qualities. In a world where many people arrive late, be the one who arrives early. In a culture where excuses are common, be the one who delivers results. In environments where promises are casually broken, be the one whose word is dependable. These may seem like small distinctions, but over time they become powerful differentiators. Be the person who finishes what they start. Completion builds trust. Be the person who tells the truth when it costs something. Integrity may appear expensive in the short term, but it pays dividends that money alone cannot buy. Trust opens doors that skill alone cannot unlock. Reputation precedes opportunity. When people hear your name and associate it with reliability, discipline, and honesty, Opportunities begin to seek you. Rare qualities are not complicated. They are consistent. They are practiced daily. They are demonstrated quietly. And because so few people commit to sustained excellence, those who do stand out. When you cultivate rare qualities, you reduce competition. You elevate your value. And as your value rises, so does your earning potential. The marketplace rewards distinction, not conformity. Don't measure your progress only by income. Income is one indicator, but it is not the only one. Measure your growth by influence. Measure it by the respect you earn from peers and mentors. Measure it by the increasing level of responsibility entrusted to you. Measure it by the opportunities that begin to appear, sometimes unexpectedly. When doors start opening without you knocking so hard, that is a sign something is changing internally. When people begin seeking your opinion, when colleagues ask for your guidance, when projects find their way to your desk because you have proven capable, that is evidence of growth. These are signals that you are becoming attractive to success. If you focus only on income, you may overlook deeper progress. But when you measure character, competence, and consistency, you recognize that growth is already occurring, and income eventually reflects that growth. Remember, success is layered. Influence precedes impact. Impact precedes income. When you build influence through value and character, income becomes a natural extension rather than a desperate pursuit. And remember this carefully, because it is one of the most transformative realizations you can ever embrace. Money is a reflection. It does not create your character, it reveals it. It does not determine your habits, it exposes them. It does not build your discipline, it tests it. Your bank account is often a mirror of your patterns, your thinking patterns, your emotional patterns, your spending patterns, your earning patterns. If you want to change the reflection, you must change the source. And the source is not the economy. It is not your employer. It is not your background. The source is you. When you look into a mirror and dislike what you see, you do not polish the mirror, you adjust yourself. In the same way, if your financial results are not where you want them to be, you do not simply blame the system. You examine your habits, you analyze your decisions, you refine your skills, you strengthen your discipline. Because money reflects consistency, it reflects preparation, it reflects value creation. And when you improve the source, your mindset, your character, your daily practices, the reflection must eventually change. It may not change overnight, but it cannot resist sustained growth. So stop trying to manipulate the reflection without correcting the source. Stop focusing solely on the outcome without strengthening the input. The fruit you see today is the result of seeds planted yesterday. If you want a different harvest tomorrow, plant different seeds today. Work on your thinking, work on your habits, work on your emotional control, work on your resilience. The reflection will follow. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Goals without discipline are merely wishes. Desires without discipline are merely fantasies. You can want success passionately, but without the daily discipline to support that desire, it fades under pressure. Discipline is what carries intention across the gap of time. It is what transforms a vision into a structure and a structure into a result. Discipline is not dramatic. It is not glamorous. It is often quiet and repetitive. It is choosing to read when you would rather scroll. It is choosing to save when you would rather spend. It is choosing to practice when you would rather relax. It is choosing to prepare when you would rather postpone. Small acts of discipline, repeated consistently, compound into extraordinary outcomes. You do not have to be brilliant. You do not need extraordinary talent. Talent is helpful, but it is inconsistent without discipline. Even modest talent, when paired with relentless consistency, can produce remarkable results. Discipline levels the playing field. It allows ordinary individuals to achieve extraordinary outcomes. Because while talent may open a door, discipline keeps it open. And when discipline becomes your habit, success becomes your pattern. Don't envy wealthy people. Envy distracts you. It blinds you to lessons and replaces curiosity with comparison. Instead, study them. Study not their cars, not their houses, not their vacations. Those are results. Study their habits. Study their routines. Study how they think. Study how they respond to setbacks. Study how they allocate time. Study how they make decisions under uncertainty. Wealth leaves clues, but only for those willing to look beneath the surface. Behind every visible success is an invisible structure of habits. Early mornings, long hours of focused effort, difficult decisions made without applause, risks taken with preparation, failures analyzed rather than denied. Most successful individuals are not lucky. They are patterned. They operate from systems. They protect their time. They guard their energy. They prioritize growth. If you study results alone, you will imitate appearances, but if you study behavior, you will replicate principles, and principles are transferable. You may not copy someone's exact path, but you can adopt their discipline, you can adopt their thinking, you can adopt their commitment to continuous improvement. When you replace envy with analysis, you convert comparison into education, and education accelerates growth. If you commit to becoming better every single day, just a little wiser, a little stronger, a little more skillful, you will eventually become undeniable. Growth does not have to be explosive to be effective. It simply has to be consistent. A small improvement compounded over years produces transformation. The marketplace cannot ignore excellence forever. Excellence demands recognition. Excellence demands compensation. When you refine your craft relentlessly, when you raise your standards voluntarily, when you exceed expectations consistently, you separate yourself from the average. And the average is crowded. But excellence is rare. The moment you move beyond average effort and embrace exceptional discipline, you begin to occupy a different category. Opportunities begin to notice you. Leaders begin to trust you. Clients begin to value you more deeply. Becoming undeniable is not about arrogance. It is about preparation meeting opportunity. It is about competence reaching a level where it cannot be overlooked. It is about so thoroughly developing your abilities that your presence adds measurable value. And when your value becomes undeniable, compensation becomes inevitable. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. So stop chasing money like it is running away from you. Stop positioning yourself as if you are in constant pursuit of something that does not want to be found. Instead, focus on becoming the kind of person money seeks out. Become trustworthy, because trust attracts partnership. Become capable, because capability attracts responsibility. Become reliable, because reliability attracts opportunity. Become creative, because creativity attracts innovation. Become resilient, because resilience attracts longevity. When you embody these qualities, money does not feel distant, it feels responsive. You are no longer begging for a chance, you are prepared for it. You are no longer hoping for luck, you are building leverage. You are no longer reacting to circumstances, you are shaping outcomes. The shift from chasing to attracting transforms your posture. It transforms your confidence. It transforms your patience. And here is something powerful. When you focus on becoming, you remove desperation from your decisions. Desperation leads to poor choices. It leads to rushed agreements and compromised integrity. But when you are grounded in growth, you can afford patience. You can wait for the right opportunity because you know you are preparing yourself to handle it. Attraction replaces anxiety. Confidence replaces fear. And here is the final thought, one that brings everything together. Your life does not change when your bank account changes. Your bank account changes when your life changes. Financial improvement is a symptom, not a cause. It reflects internal evolution. It reflects maturity, discipline, clarity, and character. Work on the roots and the fruit will come. Work on the foundation and the structure will rise. Work on the person and prosperity will follow. The world responds to growth. It rewards preparation. It compensates excellence. But it does not respond sustainably to wishful thinking. If you focus your energy on self-mastery, on refining your habits, strengthening your thinking, expanding your skill set, and deepening your integrity, you position yourself for lasting success. So do not chase money. Do not run after it as though it were scarce and evasive. Instead, become magnetic, become valuable, become disciplined, become excellent. When you transform yourself, you transform your results. When you consistently become more than you were yesterday, prosperity no longer feels like a distant goal. It becomes a natural consequence. Don't chase money, become the person it chases.